All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Recovery Unplugged Live. I am John Spalding on loan from G1NBC Live. We have Amy McCorkle in here tonight, and we have AOF host, or
No,
AOF host, but
Queen
award-winning, the
of
queen of
OF.
AOF. Ah,
Huh?
someone didn't send me my notes. The queen of AOF, Anabelle Munro. Everything's working. Hopefully, we will have more than a 9-minute recording. And we're going to have a great time here tonight. So, Amy, what's new? There's a lot. You guys have a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, there's the Recovery Unplugged pilot. Please, if you can donate. We are $190 away from the $2,000 mark. So that's very good. It looks like I've got a plane ticket or a voucher from where the AOF was postponed, and I can use it to fly out there whenever we film. Anabelle is our independent artist guest on the Recovery Unplugged pilot, and there is an actress, I hope I'm saying her name right, Crisel Almeida, and she was on an episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
And I've seen this episode a lot, and when I told my family who was on the show, they were like bowled over. They're Big Bang fans.
Oh, wow.
It's when Raj asked his parents to fix him up with a wife, and she wants a sham marriage because she's gay.
Okay.
That's her. And she's also been on Grey's Anatomy. She was in Sex and the City too. She has been in a lot of independent film. She's a feature. Like for our first episode, I think it's a pretty good deal that we got her.
Oh, for real, yeah.
We are also.
And when is that again? We don't know yet.
Corona willing, we'll be taping the last weekend in February.
Gotcha.
And we are working. Okay, Missy she said, Amy, you have to phrase it this way: that we're taking steps towards an off-Broadway show, which would be a one-night double bill with Dell of AOF, a play he's produced, and we would be doing Letters to Daniel. So,
cool.
So if everything keeps moving, it's like taking steps.
Yeah, I like that. No, so, and how long had you had the thought about turning it into a play?
As far back as 2015, I wanted to do a one-woman show, but I just couldn't. I am not an actress. I do not have, look, I may be able to pull off being a host, but that's one thing, a talk show host, but I do not do what Anabelle and all these others brave, brilliant actors and actresses do. I'm not, I had to find a different narrator than me. Like, I was a narrator on my documentary because I didn't know anybody else.
Right.
It was because I had to do it. So the idea to do a play version of Letters to Daniel has been around for a long time. And they were going to let me do the one-woman show at Imaginarium, but I think this is way cooler. And I've got a lot. And it's not that Imaginarium is bad. Imaginarium is a nice, local creative writing convention that does a lot of good for the area. But for something as big, like to take a show to New York and be off Broadway, and that's not even off Broadway. Off Broadway, Anabelle told me, is just as respected as Broadway. So even though it's the most ambitious project I've ever taken steps on, so it's nice to know I have Missy, who is always a rock, and I've got Anabelle and Lorene and Laurel and Dell on board as well. So it's like a dream team. Like, you know how
That's
I
a
put
lot.
this.
Yeah, that's cool. So we have the Recovery Unplugged Indiegogo.
Yes.
We have the off-Broadway production, In Talks, off-Broadway
Yes.
production. What else?
We got our official selection into Annabelle's, am I putting it right? Annabelle Munro's the most important films. It's a mouthful. Making sure
The
I
most
get it
important
right.
films.
And what her festival focuses on are social and justice awareness, and the reason why we're able to work together is because I think our work kind of dovetails. But I submitted this way before I asked her to be a part of anything.
Sure.
Right.
Annabelle, how did you come up with I don't want to take away any of your questions, Amy, but how did you come up with the name for that festival?
That was actually Dell's idea.
Okay.
And it's just like the most important films, but it's branded with my name because it was, I don't want to say a gift from Dell, but definitely without his mentorship and without him helping me to get over the finish line, I would not have been able to pull it off in that way. He's like such a amazing mentor and helper for me, for Amy, for so many people, for all the people who come back every year.
Yeah. You know, he's been on my show a bunch of times because first I've interviewed him, but then I would bring some of the Conquering Disability artists on to interview them. And I would want them to meet Dell because I know that this is my festival, but it was a gift. It was an award from Dell, and I want them to see I want them to have the same experience I did. And so
him and Tony were cracking me up last Monday. There's a couple times where I almost spit out my drink.
Well, you know, I told Missy that Dell was going to be on the show and Tony Acree was going to be on the show. She said, "Oh Lord."
That was a good mix. Like those two could be like frat brothers, or they could be like, you know, people that you don't see them that often, but once they get together, it's just a rollicking, fun, good time. Right. Like they didn't know each other and they were carrying on like going back and forth. It was funny. It was really good.
Tony doesn't know a stranger. But I didn't know that about his family, about the mental illness in his family. But he's a good publisher. He's a little slick, but he's honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he treats his authors. You get paid when you sell your books. Yeah. You know,
and he gets the indie process too, being able to go from a writer to buying a small a small publishing platform like he did, and then growing it from there is really good.
Yep.
So he understands the grind.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't I get out of your guys' way?
Okay.
I'll be back at the end. Bye. Should we watch our Letters to Daniel trailer?
Yeah, show the trailer and then cue me in.
Okay. It's like old times.
Dear Daniel Craig, life did not always look like this. This marked a moment of triumph, a way of crushing an abysmal past and daring those with a stereotypical view of those with mental illness to challenge me on any front. To many, this was just a documentary. For me and Missy, this was our life.
It's like my skin is coming off. And my thoughts, they're racing so fast.
It's the longest damn movie trailer in the world.
I can't keep up.
I'm suffering too, you know. You're not the only one.
It's like my mind is coming apart.
She is.
And I can't get it to come together.
I think it's more than just that. Amy's been having a really hard time lately. She goes on these crying jags.
So
she
far, so
explodes
good.
without warning. She's so
we have
angry
more than 9 minutes of footage, so we have 10 minutes.
She's not the happy Amy that I remember from Kentucky.
She thinks you're manic depressive. I, however, do not. I think this is something you've been obsessing on. I believe that it's all in your head.
That was one the scene at the movie theaters going on right now, the one where she races over to the chair. That's one of my favorite scenes. That was one of my favorite scenes to watch too.
Took a lot of brave wings first to come here. We're gonna get you some help.
That was so good, and the way Mark set it up, and then the way she acted it, it was.
You have rapid cycling manic depression.
Dear Daniel Craig, bipolar disorder and those that saw it as contagious sought to pull me under, snap me in half, break me down.
It was like settling down.
Even those well-intentioned do-gooders who see therapy and medication as bad and wrong, who see mentally ill individuals as hapless and hopeless, they're wrong.
Yes.
I found hope in your work.
Yep.
A comrade in Missy, my rock when no one else understood.
All right, you guys ready?
You two are my twin lights when this disease threatened to take me down. And treatment was what got me through. Thank you, Daniel, for your talent and your work. Thank you for everything. Sincerely, Amy McCorkle.
Tonight, our guest is indie powerhouse, fellow AOFer, creative partner, and recently published author, Queen of AOF for Life, Anabelle Munro. So let's just dive right in. You are an actress and were discovered by Germany's answer to Quentin Tarantino. You have gone on to work on Off-Broadway and direct, write, produce, and act in award-winning productions. Yet you struggled with an eating disorder, which you write so eloquently about in your book, The Skeleton Key. Why not take us on a journey from young actress to the indie powerhouse you are now, and tell us a little bit how you did it?
Wow, I'm dizzy. What a summary. Thank you, Amy. That is a lovely way to be introduced. So I'm from a small city in Germany, really lovely and really cultured, not exactly connected to the film industry at all, but theater. And this is where I started. And so my eating disorder, I suffered from my eating disorder between the age of 13 and 20, so for 7 years. And I must say that becoming the artist, filmmaker, storyteller, and pursuing that dream was a big, big part of my healing. So when I was 13, I had a math teacher who was mentally ill, and he chose me of all children in the classroom to show his power. And so he emotionally abused me and used me as the example of what happens to his students who don't do as he says. And it happened the first class I had with the guy. He like yelled at me, and all I remembered was the saliva splatter all over me and thinking, what is happening right now? What? And I thought it wasn't real. And then I started reaching out to my peers, and they were like, yeah, man, you just got to be strong, chin up. I talked to the adults, and they didn't really get the extent of the craziness of this person. And also puberty, right? Like when a 13-year-old tells you, my teacher hates me, I don't want to go to school. They think, oh yeah, puberty. Sorry, chin up, just keep on going. It will get better. But it didn't get better. So I stopped going to that teacher. Like I just skipped those math classes, which didn't make things better. Yet at the same time, I acted for the first time. It was a couple of months later, you know, because when there's a void, you crave some sort of wholesomeness again. And I found that with acting, it was like the perfect outlet at the perfect timing. So I attribute my healing and my mental health and sanity all to self-expression and creativity and following your bliss and following your dream and never accepting no and relying on yourself, finding that belief in yourself, right? Because when you have an eating disorder, you hate yourself because it's so horrid, all the things you're doing, like lying, pretending, and like it's terrible. But that was my red line, my anchor to keep me going, for sure, to make me healthy again.
Okay. I met you at the 2016 AOF. Your film Gaijin was premiering, and my little documentary that spawned all this was making its West Coast debut. We met in the elevator. You were with your husband Huntley and your baby at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember what a visceral reaction I had when you bit into a raw fish, not once, but twice in the film, which was amazing. What was the film about, and what do you remember the most about the making of it?
Oh my God, I love Gaijin because Gaijin was the first collaboration between my husband and myself. And we wanted to explore, we knew we were going to go to Japan, and we knew we wanted to start writing together and making a film. So we said, hey, Japan is so cool and visually so different. Let's shoot something when we're going there. And then we were like, okay, so we need a camera and it's just you and I. So I bought special effects makeup and we traveled around with the stuff. And the reason, like how we found the story, I love digging into the classic storytelling, right? And Japan, I was like, what is the classic storytelling from the Japanese? And oh my God, ghost stories. So my husband and I were studying all the ghost stories. And we found one of the masked woman. By the way, Gaijin is so current right now because it's a woman.
Yeah.
A horrible mouth behind a face mask. And so she's sitting in a bar in that original ghost story. And that businessman is trying to chat her up. And she always keeps on saying, am I beautiful? Am I beautiful? And then she eats the businessman. So we took this gist as a starter for the film. And then we thought, okay, let's tell the story of why would a woman be cursed with a mouth that is so horrible? Like, what does somebody have to do? So we're like saying, we were imagining maybe she said something horrible. No, that's not hard enough. Maybe she ate something that belonged to a beggar or something like that. And then we had it. We were like, oh my God, she is stealing offerings to God, right? Because in Japan, you have all these little altars and shrines, and she's going in and gets all the food. So she is stealing something sacred.
Yes.
And so she gets this disfiguration, and then she needs to get rid of the curse. So it's like a horror story, spooky story. And Amy, I have to really disappoint you and disillusion you. The fish, it's just acting.
It looked gross. It looked like a fish.
Never ate it. I know, it was just the cut, the way we cut it. It looks like I ate it. And we had God knows how many shots, because it was always like, Huntley, that doesn't look real. That doesn't look like I'm eating it. But it looks real because it went on my face. But
it looked, the cut looked real enough that it made me retch. So
right, that's her curse, right? So she has to eat rotten fish for a little while, but that's not good because she has to go after a human, right? And then she becomes the next. It's too complex. It's about sin, the film, right? And unfortunately, she's messing with the wrong person, right?
Yeah.
Like, exactly, the one spirit who is actually, punishing her for this. And I don't want to give the end away, but I might as well. She died. So in the into Buddhism, there is the belief that you go through these several stages when you are in the, transitioning into the other realm of death, and that some people have to go through their bad deeds and relive it and have to pay the price in this transition. So that is pretty much the meaning of the story. It's very spiritual.
Yeah, it was like an experimental film, and I usually hate experimental films, but this one, because of what Huntley did behind the camera in the editing bay and the music, and then your performance was just so powerful. You didn't even have your mouth; you only had your eyes to do it with. So I'm like, kudos.
Thank you.
That was just that made me a huge fan of yours from the very beginning.
Thank you.
I call you the queen of AOF constantly, but I feel like over the last year we have become partners on 2 projects, and I feel more like a part. Me and Shane Borza talked about this, about feeling like you're more a part of AOF as opposed to just a participant. Because of you, in part, if you would tell the audience what we're working on together.
You mean you, Amy, and I?
Yes.
Just the 2 of us? Oh my goodness, it's so much. First of all, I've always been like a really, really avid supporter of what you do and what you stand for, because as you mentioned yourself, we met in 2016, and you and I, we both won a big award. So your speech that night just blew me away, because I mean, I know how shame-loaded eating disorders are, but there's still this kind of like, people don't know too much about it. They either think it's like pretty people's disease or like whatever. But yeah, it's not. It's the opposite. It's terror and horror and heart.
Yeah. And over
there saying, hey guys, thank you so much. This means a lot because I am bipolar, and this is really, it was just, honestly, everybody in the room was like totally moved by your honesty, because who does that? Who accepts an award and like throws it out there right away? Boom, right? Like, people like to hide this stuff. They don't put that in their resume, and especially not in their award show acceptance speech. But they should, because it defines you, and you have been prolific producing, doing your stuff, and behind it, and going further. You set a goal, you go after it, you achieve it, and you're there every year and fully committed, So now we have the play that we already talked about, which I think is amazing, because the timelessness of a play filmed, right? That is the beauty, because you don't need much to create the story. You just need the story and good actors and a space, and that's it. And through that simplification, where you take everything away and keep it minimal, it just like elevates the story so much, and it keeps it timeless. So usually that gets lost, right, in the moment when we go to the theater, because it's unique. It happens in that moment, then it goes away. And with the filmed version, we will be able to preserve it forever. And I think it's just such a nice add-on to your wonderful film. There was something, honestly, how many indie filmmakers are out there who always say, I'm going to do a feature film, and where is it? Like 5 years later, 10 years later.
Yeah.
So I'm just super proud of you.
It was a blog in 2013. It was a book later that fall, because I started it in May. Did the first volume of letters in October of 2013. Then in 2014, I did the documentary, and then in 2016, I added all the blog memoir letters and like did a revised edition. But the feature film was because I went the reason why it got made into, thank God it got made in 2019 because of COVID, right? But but I remember going to another festival, which will remain nameless, where where I literally had all these people telling me point blank, as long as you insist on directing it, it will never get made. I had another person there tell me, you have no business directing this. You're passing up.
Hey? And you taught them wrong.
Yeah.
You taught them better.
Yeah.
You did. And I'm so proud of you. And then, I mean, Recovery Unplugged. First of all, what a super cool name. You've been doing this prolifically. I know how hard it is to stick with it, right? And just keep on going. And the next episode. And there you are, you know, like when did we speak the last time? Like a year ago or something?
It was longer. It was
longer than a year ago.
Yeah.
And there you are, output. Every week or every 2 weeks, you're there producing something. It's really phenomenal. And, you know, because you said, what are the projects that we're doing? So we are going to do, or I'm allowed to be part of your wonderful pilot.
Yeah.
Which is also super duper exciting. Can't wait.
Okay. You are also an amazing author, as demonstrated by your current release, the first in a 3-book series, The Skeleton Key, which is a book about your recovery from a dangerous eating disorder. You also have YouTube content supporting it. What inspired the book and what placed you on this journey?
Yeah, right. What inspired the book? So the first volume that came out is my personal story. I must say it's not an autobiography, because my life, I love my life and I love my family, and there's so much to laugh about, and the arts, all the fun stuff. So there's none of that in that book. It's solely focused on the eating disorder journey. And it's a hard thing to read. Like, my family is devastated. They have a very different recollection, right? And they didn't know anything. They didn't know anything because it's so secret.
When it's something like that, you keep it to you keep it a secret.
You keep it, and if you get over it, right, you take it to your grave, because why revisit? But here's the deal. So I completely recovered. If you know me, you know I eat spaghetti, cookies, cake, the whole lot, and I love it. And I love to cook. I have like a little farm in my backyard. I'm a foodie. And usually that's a story that for people who struggle from eating disorders, that's not too known, that you can fully, completely recover. People have the misconception that they have to have this in some sort all their lives, and all they can do at best is manage it somehow and just find your safe foods and whatnot. I completely did not have this experience, because when I was sick, I never went to a therapist or a psychiatrist, nothing. I decoded my addiction, my pattern, and I step by step drew conclusions and fixed all these holes in myself, right? And followed my bliss. And only later, right, I was like completely recovered, and there was a definite endpoint where I knew this is it. Wow, this is the last time throwing up, and I know it. I'm free. Yay, right?
Yeah.
So after that, I could have happily moved on, but as soon as I was done with it, I never made a secret of it to all the actors and whatnot. I used it as a strength, right? Like you do with, hey, it's like my recovery is a full-time job. And to me, it was
recovery with bipolar disorder is a full-time job.
It is a full-time job. And my recovery, the knowledge that I gained, I would always use when I saw somebody struggle or like saying something negative about themselves. I would say, hey, I don't tolerate negative self-talk. If you want to talk badly about yourself, you got to do that somewhere else, because it hurts my heart. Right? So, because I have an eating disorder and I talk to myself very badly, and it's not good. Trust me. So people were really irritated by that openness, and then they started to open up. And some of them never talked to anybody before they talked to me, and they say, hey, you seem to be somebody that I can talk to. So you healed from your eating disorder? And I'm like, yeah. Do you have one? I think so. And then, I noticed, oh my God, this is like totally misunderstood. People think they can never heal. This is big. So many people have this, like literally in the acting world. How many people do you think are there who have eating disorders? It's insane. So I started helping people, and I was like, oh my God, I have so many tools. What am I going to do? And then we moved to New York, and I said, God, thank you so much for this present that I can go there. I promise I will get very active in the eating disorder community. And the first thing I did was I went to meetings, right? Just to share the good news. Hey, all I want to do is you say you can fully recover. If you have questions, ask me, because I have fully recovered. And then people would meet up with me. But here comes the downside. I underestimated the need. So I found myself exhausted and off my path as an artist. Like in a couple of weeks, I was like, no, this is not it. I'm taking from my abundance. I'm like literally dehydrated from all the talking and from all the help I cannot provide in this one-on-one approach. So what am I going to do? A book. Perfect. I can write a book, and everybody can just put it in their pockets and go home. And I can put all the tools in there. Great. So then I started writing. And I was not very satisfied because I've never received treatment. And I know this is something I have to recommend to people, right? Like, I don't want to tell people don't talk to
like
anybody.
everybody's path is different. It's not that
Right.
one path is right, and one path is wrong. It's just usually, yeah.
Exactly. But I thought, to whom is my story going to appeal? Because I never talk to anybody, and I don't want that people think, oh my God, I'm already in therapy. This book doesn't apply to me. So I was like, I need to learn about therapy. And then I went undercover in a couple of treatment centers in various positions as staff, actually in a ton of positions as staff. So I got to see the insurance, blah, 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 therapy, nutritionist, all the jazz. And then I started going to meetings again as well. And I noticed how important the personal story is to get somebody's ear. So I was like, oh my God, this bloody book, that is so important. It's got to be some sort of a trilogy, right? Because I do need to have my personal story, that people believe that I really went through this. I heard a couple of times when I tried to help people, yeah, you can only say that you recovered because you never really had it. You had it only just a little bit. And I'm like, no.
I had it. Yeah.
Yeah, because people have this distrust. I had it too. I know exactly what it's like. So you have to put down, you gotta just expose yourself, be as raw and horrible, and just let them know, look, this is the story. So that's book 1. Book 2 is the tools, straight up tools. And if you read book 1, those tools have worked and they come from somebody who went through the whole mess. And then the third book is about the experience with therapy, right? What I saw that worked, and what I saw that didn't work, and what I recommend you keep in mind when you approach therapy, right? Because I saw in the centers that once you come to that step where you are brave to share that there's something seriously wrong with you, that you have that, and you open up, it's such a big step. And then I saw people just like handing themselves over. I felt the trust in the therapists from then on was almost, how shall I say, like given to the ones that opened up. And I felt that the vetting needs to be a bit more considered if you go in therapy, that you really, really find somebody that you click with, not this enigma person that you do not connect with, because you're going to pay the price, not the therapist. Right? Because you keep on coming back, but you never get better. And I saw that. And then I saw the therapists that were fantastic, right? And it's easy to find out who's a good therapist. A good therapist is super passionate, and you just get on with them, and you get better. You get better.
Okay. Del Weston is a huge supporter of his AOF family. He has become a mentor and a friend to many, a creative, including you and me. How has your partnership with him developed over the years, and how have you each benefited from it?
I can only say family, really.
Yeah.
I think a year ago I would have said best friend, but it is family. And it's also his family, you know, it's our families, and the trust, the showing up, you know, it's rare to find somebody who bends over backwards in order to make something happen for you, right? Because he doesn't have to.
No.
And most of the people don't. They are after some personal gain, but Del's gain is seeing people thrive. And I so appreciate that about him. I always have. And so how to develop from here? We went through some period of hell together, but together, you know, it's like you get to know the other person really, really well. We call it like to eat the bag of salt together, right?
Yeah.
And grieved together. And my God, we had so much fun together. so many good times. And
yeah, you know, I just envy you being out there so close to them. You know, you're just like an hour flight away, or a car, like a simple car ride away. Because because whenever my parents went to Florida, I don't know what happened, but like we had a meeting. It was a Saturday, and I was thinking about something, and it was like right after, and I just started sobbing, and there was nobody here. It's just me and my cat. And you know, him and Teresa checked in on me after I Zoomed him that day, going, "Ooh," you know, just and they checked in on me every single day. And you know, I said, Missy, they never do anything wrong. They've never shown me anything but love and support. And I said, there is no other festival, and they are special. There is just nothing like AOF. And
they are real people, you know, and also they are very, they have their priorities straight, because they, you know, they are very spiritual. I know that, and that is a similarity Del and I share as well, right? It's the love for God, and for being alive, and for, you know, for this great gift that we have, and for our families, for our babies. And I always appreciated about Del when it comes to spirituality as well, that it's not, you know, the dogma or anything. It's like a real heartfelt, deep connection to God. It's a love,
right? And it doesn't matter what what God, what religion, faith, what religion it is, because AOF supports all of that.
Right.
Right.
And that's where the trust comes from, you know, and the faith and the bigger picture, that it's not just about, you know, oh, let's get our sponsors going, and you know, I don't care about the movies. No, you know, I spent how many months in Del's and Teresa's office, right? Like prepping a movie, and every submission that comes in is being watched by the two of them. You know, they have their whole gang of judges and whatnot, but they watch every single submission, and then they don't watch it just once. Like if they get excited about something, right, they're like, oh my God, Del, check this out. And then they watch it again. And then Del grabs the phone and calls the person, because he knows who calls people right away after they've just seen the film to say, hey man, I'm the director of the AOF. I just watched your film. It is amazing. And I love it. And you're selected.
You know, I just wanted his feedback, and he, you know, about Letters to Daniel, because it's so important, and they've been such a supporter of the project since it first went to AOF. And I just remember sitting in that director's meeting, and both Del and Teresa saying whenever, I had mentioned I came in second to another film at it was called Whisper at Indie Gathering, and they said, Amy, you did a beautiful thing. And that meant something to me, because I know they don't like, I always, Indie Gathering's great. They're the first people
So you
who
keep on saying I should come.
you should. They're great. They're like, they have that familial feeling. I don't feel as familial there as I do at AOF. Like I said, AOF is just a different thing. But what's great about Indie Gathering is that they created the same kind of sense of family. And there are those who re-up every single year at Indie Gathering. And they were the first ones to consider me and Missy real talents as screenwriters. And our documentary, that was the first place it won an award. It was honorable mention, but I was taking it.
Congratulations, baby.
And second, all my films there would get like honorable mention, right? There's only, I think 2 of my documentaries finished 3rd and 4th, but it's because the short documentary category kept growing in size. And so there was more competition. And so I'm second, and all I can think is, I never rose above 4th or honorable mention. Most of all my narrative films either didn't get picked or they were honorable mention there. And I know they gave me a Friday night screening at 8:25 in the biggest screening room. And so my mom and dad are coming to both Indie Gathering and AOF next year.
Yay!
So
so cool.
Okay. Now I'm going to pivot a little bit. As we've discussed, you struggled with an eating disorder. What triggered it specifically, and what finally put it to bed, so to speak?
Right. So as I already mentioned, that teacher, right?
Right.
But not in that moment, you don't know that, right? That this triggers the eating disorder. It's like completely confused, because what happens is you lose control of a major piece of your life. I was like a highly gifted student, right? I was like A+ student. That's probably why he didn't like me, or I looked like his ex-wife or his cousin that he hated, or whatever. Or he just thought he's like the class leader. I'm going to get her under my control. Then everybody else will be quiet. I don't know. So I'm there. And then that not feeling heard, right? That really, it wasn't even the adults where it hurt me so much. It was mainly my classmates, that they didn't speak up because they were witnessing this humiliation. And I talked to them, and they said, Annie, sorry, but I don't want to be next. You know? And I had always stood up for others, right? Or most of the time. So then my next step was, like I turned into a bully, try that out just to get rid of that anger, and not going to school, starting smoking marijuana, forging my mother's signature to get away with all my lies at school, inventing illnesses, stealing money to afford my time outside of the classroom, to be able to buy a Coca-Cola. And so you become a thief, a liar, and then you feel really bad about yourself already. And then so like after that, for whatever reason, I wanted to get on a diet because of all the frustration and anger I had, put on a little bit of weight, because emotional eating, that's probably where this starts. And then you try a zero diet, and then you have the first binge because you you don't have any carbs in your body, and you have a sugar low, and so you eat, and then you feel horrible again. And so that's where it started, right? But I didn't know that was connected to the abuse of the teacher, and like having lost my life pretty much to it, of being the top high achiever, Supergirl to being the shunned one, the bad one. And I was like, I might as well be really bad. And yeah, so that's where it started. And at the same time, right, because I experienced injustice and doubt and whatnot, I was very insecure and doubtful. And with that, I also, through my faith in God that I always had as a little kid, even though my family is not religious at all, but I had this natural friendship and love to God as a little teeny weeny one, always praying, always, oh, God loves me, and always trying to help people. And when I was going downwards, I was like, oh my God, everything was just a sham. God doesn't exist because that you would never allow this crap. And everything is unfair. And when I die, it's just going to be black and whatever. I'm just going to be me, anarchy, you know. So I lost my belief, my faith in God. It became a, atheist, pitch black atheist, thought life has no meaning. There's going to be a comet hitting the Earth anyways, and in 2,000 years, the planet is too hot to live. What's this all about? It's nonsense. Life is shitty. Makes no sense. That's the eating disorder. And so finding God again, and just like working my way through this, forgiving my teacher later on, and all these people who didn't help, you know, just going back, consoling myself, saying, hey, Annie, but see what it taught you. See what it taught you. You're very compassionate now, very empathetic.
Okay.
To yourself.
There was, okay, so I consider my family a 12-step program kind of thing, and some of those things you mentioned are very much tenets of a 12-step recovery program. So like making amends and forgiving yourself and that kind of thing. Okay.
There's a difference. You know what the big difference is to the recovery 12-step? They say they are always in recovery, and I have completely, at least when it comes to eating disorders, a completely different experience, which is there is a definite endpoint. And I got in trouble with going to 12-step meetings in New York when I said, hi, my name is Anabelle, and I'm a ex-bulimic. I'm a former bulimic. And I got corrected. No. We are always in recovery. And I said, well, I'm completely recovered. I got nothing to do with that stuff anymore. I'm like eating everything. No. This is how we speak here. Okay, sorry.
Well, okay. So every person's recovery is different. For some illnesses, and for some people with eating disorders, because I would say I'm a compulsive eater. I'm not a bulimic, but I definitely have a problem with controlling the intake of food. But for some, because there is no actual, and I would say for like bipolar disorder and stuff like that, there is no actual cure. But you outline in your book how you conquered your food demons and learned to love food again. Please explain to our audience how you did this.
I noticed that like going towards the end, that once you started flirting with the eating disorder, once you started doing it, you mess up your body chemistry, right? And then you mess up your autopilot. Your new normal is totally wartime. But your body, that's dependency, right? When your body chemistry is out of order and it needs that bad thing in order to be normal again. So I was trying to figure out, over years, why am I craving this? Because especially with overeaters and bulimics like I was, something that totally made sense to me was like, oh my God, my stomach muscles are extended, right? Like to an elephant, because I eat so much food and then I purge. So I look tiny outside, but inside I have a gigantic stomach. And when I don't fill that, right? Like it's hungry. Oh, I'm hungry all the time. So how do you deal with that? I found a way, it's like my method was, first of all, heal myself emotionally, right? Where I just got rid of all these things we need from others that only ourselves can give to us. You know, I was giving up needing to have that best friend, even though I found the best friends as soon as I was my own best friend, right? Or I need an advocate, or why is nobody helping me? No, you honestly have to become your own best friend and to stop that negative talk. Once I was able to catch all those negative beliefs about myself and about life in my head, I just drowned them out and I loved them away, and I replaced them with better ideas about myself and the future and God and the meaning of life and purpose and all of that. And then as a parallel process, I applied that to food, right? I was like, hey, there's no bad food. There's like the food groups, right? So candy is great, sometimes a little bit, because otherwise for your teeth and whatnot, right, causes damage, but a little bit is fine, just not all the time in masses. If you need to binge in masses, I told myself, why don't you binge on healthy stuff? So I replaced my binge food slowly but surely, and that made my stomach shrink, right? Step by step. And then I was craving healthier things again. So it took time, but it's totally possible. And I have no hate or anxiety around food. Like, all food is okay and good for something. The only thing, however, I believe it is super important to make sure that the food is kind of ethical, right? That it's not crap food, because we have a lot of abused animals and super bad veggie, and I know it's cheap, but it's harmful because it's full of pesticides, and that messes with your body chemistry as well. So the better the quality of your food, the more wholesome and made with love. Cooking your own food in itself is already so healing, instead of going to, I don't know, get that fried chicken in a bucket, you know, makes a big difference. Okay. Because you put your love in it, you know, you take whole ingredients, and your body is grateful for that. And your soul too. Mm-hmm.
You also have a Facebook group called Recover ED.
Right.
What is the group's purpose, and what content does it provide?
It is just a a connection point and opportunity for people, because now that the book is out, you know, and I have been around a little bit in the community, for people to connect. And my dream was always to especially inspire people who have fully recovered to step out and share their good news with people who are struggling. It's the most potent crossroads, the most potent connection people can make, because if you're in the pits, what you need is hope. And what gave me hope was believing, you know, I remember Lady Diana had bulimia, but she recovered, and she was very inspirational to me. And there wasn't much out there at the time, you know, it was like in books or newspapers, there was no internet. But that was very good for me to know that it's like, she's a princess, man. She went through the embarrassment and the outing, like, oh, I'm a bulimic princess and I'm doing better now, and this is a illness of the mind, you know. And that's what I want to just pay forward as well to other people, that they know recovery is real and you are not alone, and it's also not your fault. And that whole beating up on yourself and saying you're a pig and horrible, that is part of the problem, and everybody needs to stop the negative self-talk and the self-shaming and just become a better friend to themselves.
Yeah, okay. So, what was the single most difficult thing about your recovery?
Single most difficult thing? I guess I can start right in the end, like dealing with my family, dealing with the book, because I always wanted to keep them totally away from that, you know, because why? And I mean, the book is really so, I don't want to say dirty, but there's some dirty laundry in there, some secrets that benefit somebody who had it. But it's not pretty for my mom to read, or my brother, right? So
it's gritty.
It's
not dirty, it's gritty.
Gritty, thank you,
and
baby.
raw.
Negative self-talk, right?
It's gritty and raw.
It is
That's
raw.
what, I'm going to tell you. When I
Right.
started the Letters to Daniel blog, it was safe to write there because I knew my mom and dad weren't going to go and read it. But I'm going to share with you a story. And my stepdad is so cool. And he's so funny. It was like, I don't know, it was about 5 o'clock in the morning, and he was up getting ready to work. And this was back in 2013. And I had written a blog post, and I went to him and I said, Dad, I want you to know I'm writing my truth. It may not be your truth, but it's my truth. And if you don't, and I said, and there may be some times you might not like what I have to say. Right. And he goes, and I said, and I've created a blog and it's called Letters to Daniel. He goes, oh, that's okay. I created a blog too. It's called I created a blog too. All the Lies That Amy Tells.
Oh my goodness. Well, he has a good sense of humor. That's good. One more thing came to mind with the recovery, but it was probably before recovery even started. But writing the book, that process, writing about my time of being a bully.
Oh, that's hard.
But it's necessary, right? It's necessary because I learned from dealing with people one-on-one, right? Sorry.
It's okay.
The negative self-image, right? Like that I would listen to from the girls in the treatment center. That said, there were girls who were raped so badly. And they thought they are the slut. And I'm like, dude, you're off your rocker. I was like a total asshole, right? And I love myself. And you were raped. You were not a slut, you have to.
But you get that. Look, speaking as a childhood survivor of sexual abuse,
right?
Your thinking is totally corrupted. You experience PTSD,
right?
And whatever person you were going to be after that point just completely changes,
right?
That whatever you were going to be at that point doesn't exist anymore. It's just your starter. You're okay. We all love you.
I'm totally okay. Yeah, no, but it's like going into these horrible stories, right? Like all the shitty stuff I've done to show people you can completely come back. And I call this also the return to innocence, right? You think like once you have done really horrid things, it's like murder and there's no way back. But there is. And honestly, I feel today like I did when I was a kid, but 1,000 times better because I'm an adult, and I have a credit card.
I don't have a credit card.
I borrow money for a Coca-Cola, mommy.
I don't have a credit card.
Without going to school.
No, I said horrible things and now I will say in the movie where Megan, plays me and she tells Missy she's going to kill her, I was a lot meaner when I said it. It was like
you told me.
Yeah.
That's what that's about, right? And then admitting here's
but
the thing,
you notice what also Missy said. Missy said, if you were anybody else, I'd be trash. So she just threw it back.
Good sense of humor. So I just wanted to finish that train of thought real quick with the girl that I bullied like for a year. So when the book came out, when it was a couple of months ago, on my birthday, I'm receiving a message on Facebook from somebody who's not my friend, and I'm accepting it because I know it's from my hometown. And then I saw it was that girl.
Oh.
And I just had posted everything about the book and I retracted the acceptance because I was like, oh Lord, does she need to read the book? because she had been through a hard time, and to see it from that perspective. And I'm not painting it pretty, you know, it's like, do I have to put somebody else through the abuse again? I mean, it's written under, like, it's all different names and whatnot, but still, that was not pleasant either. Clicking that unfriend after saying friend and then unfriend. Ugh. I don't know if there was cowardice, but I think, like, my thought was, I just don't want her to read this book and feel that again, what I did to her. So that was not nice. But that's the price you pay, you know, to help others. And I'm getting a lot of feedback that it's really helping people, and they feel understood, and they understand the layers that they have overlooked in their healing, right? And they are really grateful for the honesty. Yeah. So there you go. Price to pay.
You have gone on to have a wonderful marriage and beautiful children and an amazing career. What does your particular journey say about being sick and stigmatized, and what you choose to do with that?
Well, it's a good question. So, you know, I don't consider myself sick anymore. Like, I'm
right, like
for 20 years solidly done. But here's the thing. That's why people like to brush it under the carpet. Once you do come out with this, right, especially as an actor, and I explained this to my mother, because she was like, oh man, now all these embarrassing, like, you know, hard things you're putting out there, why? It's like over since 20 years. And I'm like, yeah, because it can help people. And trust me, Mom, I'm an actress. Do you think I want to be like the bulimic actress? Because this is what's, when you Google, there's like, it's on my book title, right, with my picture on it. So that was a choice I needed to make, where it's like, am I a wussy, or am I, you know, standing behind this? And I must say a big thank you to my friends. There's especially Suzette Trochet's staff, who has been such a supporter, and she talked some sense into me, because I wanted to publish anonymously, like, a couple of years ago. It was always supposed to be a pen name, because, you know, legal implications and whatnot. And she said, Anabelle, do you not see the benefit of going to readings, you know, and having Q&As and meeting people who have read your book, and they can hold on to you? Don't you think they have a benefit from looking in your eyes instead of having a pen name?
I'm going to tell you,
damn it.
I did letters to Daniel. I told my mom and dad not to read the book, but they did sit through the movie, and they come out looking pretty good in the movie. But there's a line that Jenny had, says, I don't want to be your mother. I want to be pleasant. Because the healing I wasn't angry. Look, it's a whole healing process. And
I know, Amy.
So we're sitting, me and Missy are sitting there, and we're like, oh my God. But because we screened it at the church.
Hallelujah.
But as like, I did convention before COVID and conventions, people would always come to me and say, oh my, you know, it opens up a conversation that maybe wouldn't have been there before.
Right.
Okay.
And to take the shame
now
away,
let's have a little fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That. Yeah. Let's have fun. If
your life were a movie, what would the title be?
Heavenly Happy.
Okay.
Boring.
If you could cast anyone to portray you in that movie, who would it be?
I would go with Sandra Bullock, but she's a bit older. Is that a good choice? You gotta wait.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? Why not?
But I love her.
Yeah.
I love her.
What in your professional career are you most proud of?
The diversity, and that I'm free to do what I want.
Okay.
And the beautiful people that I'm working with, I love every single one of them, and they are all friends. to be
Yeah.
working with friends, and they are not talented. It's just it has developed a dynamic over time where the people I'm working with, I really dig.
Yeah.
It's great.
Why did I do that?
I don't know.
What in your personal life are you most proud of?
My recovery for sure, and
Mhm.
my openness about it when it comes to others and helping others, feeling better about themselves for sure, and always throwing a little bit of God vibe in there too. I sound like a little bit weird today, but it's important to me, and I know
Okay.
we all should talk about why we are here and purpose way more often than we do.
Yeah. And finally, that's your cue, John. What advice do you have for those young women and young men struggling with an eating disorder and want to reclaim their lives?
That it's not their fault, that they are not alone. And if they can, reach out. If they can't, start reaching out to yourself and become your own best advocate and do research and become an expert of yourself, an expert in what you need to be happy. And then you just follow that path.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions I have for you tonight. John, do you have any follow-ups?
I don't have any. That was a great interview. It was heartfelt. You laughed, you cried. It was really good. Anna says such an incredible interview. So thank you, Anna, for that. And I don't need a cue. Okay. So let's talk about something though, because something did show up in my timeline when I was looking through the broadcast. So the namesake for Letters to Daniel is who again?
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig. I just wanted to point this out. This came from Yahoo.com today. It says Sean Connery beats out Daniel Craig as the best James Bond. Of all time.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you.
That's all I got.
Well, okay, well, just to answer to that, I would say quintessential Bond is Sean Connery because he kind of made the role what it is. But if you're going to ask me who the best Bond is for my money, it's Daniel Craig.
That was hard. I mean, you had that you were ready. You're like, all right. It's like you saw the article and you're like, okay, in case John brings this up, this is all right. And you're writing it down. You're like, oh, this is the answer. This is the answer. I'm just glad the recording lasted. I'm glad that the episode broadcast and we didn't have any problems. But
that's always good.
You two have a great vibe, so it's really going to be fun watching your stories and your cross collaborations moving forward.
Oh, yeah, I love Anabelle.
Totally love you too, Amy.
She's always been so nice to me. Like we was it 2016 your first year there too. We were like class of 2016 for AOF.
Gotcha. All right.
Well, do you have?
No, I don't think so. I think that's it.
Okay.
And do we have anything else, or what are we doing? Are we doing next Monday? Or are we taking a little break?
I think I'm gonna shoot for another guest because I like to keep these things going. Because I'm gonna be honest, I look forward to these during this whole you're closed in, and this is just such a great way to socialize.
Yep.
I do want to speak to you after this though.
Me?
Who is you?
Yeah, John.
All right, everyone, we gotta go. I gotta meet with my manager. Bye, Anabelle.
Thank you for having me, guys.
You're the best. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you, guys.